Shalom, Yasharala. This your brother Dawud coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to go ahead and jump into this here topic, which will probably be like a part 3 to the other videos I put up dealing with Esau, Edom taking the Israelites into captivity, But nevertheless, as you understand, we was taken into slavery. I did a video basically going into the judgment on the so-called white men in these other nations that had a hand in our downfall. All right. But now as we dealing with, since we dealt with these other nations and the things that they've done. All right. And then also their judgment. All right. That leaves the Israelites. All right. Now what's going to happen to them? All right. Because we also know, according to the prophecies, like we're dealing with where we at now. First and foremost, we still in captivity. First and foremost, we also know, according to the prophecies, that this place where we in captivity at, mainly here in America, is going to be destroyed off the face of the earth. It's going to be turned to the lake of fire. All right. So where does that leave the Israelites? All right. Now this is a stumbling block that our people stumble over inside the churches. When they talk about, oh, I'm saved, I'm saved, I'm saved. When you go to church, one of the the biggest things you can do as a child. In the type of church that I grew up in, was when you get to a certain age and you walk down the aisle and you go get saved, you so-called give your life over to the Lord, but our people have the wrong understanding of what it means to be saved. It's like, when you take it out of the realm of speaking of church, you can understand what being saved means, like, damn, they didn't save me from X, Y, and Z. Like, damn, I almost got hit by that bus, but you just saved me. You saved me from this here scenario, but how can you be saved and you still sitting in your scenario? It's like, oh, you saved me from getting hit by the bus, but you still got hit by the bus. That's pretty much what these Christians are dealing with. And in these churches nowadays, they're walking around talking about they're saved, but yet they still in their captivity. In fact, they don't even know they're in captivity. That's even worse than being in captivity. The fact that you don't even it's bad enough to be a slave, but it's even worse to be a slave and not know that you even a slave, But nevertheless, it's like somebody taking advantage of you. Yeah, it's bad enough if somebody take advantage of you, but it's even worse if somebody taking advantage of you and you don't even know it, because they can just keep taking advantage of you more and more. The quicker you find out about it, the quicker you can put it into it, But nevertheless, our people, they're walking around still in captivity, still under oppression, still in the hands of their enemy, and still get, under these curses. And yet they talking about, they saved, everything is all good. They saved, so on and so forth, Well, I want to go into the scriptures and put it into perspective. Who needs salvation? And another thing, the so-called white man, why people stumble over the so-called white man, why he can't be saved. First and foremost, it was written in the scripture that there was no place of repentance found for him. All right, which I'll actually grab that before I start. But nevertheless, what is he going to be saved from? All right. Again, going back to what it is to be being saved. All right. You don't understand what it means to be saved. All right. But nevertheless, when you understand, you think, oh, he going to go to heaven and this and that, because when he died, you go to either heaven or hell. But again, stumbling blocks. You don't realize that, when anybody die, no matter how good or how bad they were, Adolf Hitler, whatever, Osama bin Laden, whoever, whenever anybody dies, the spirit all go to the same place. They all go back up to the Father who created it, and they just come back to the earth and they get their judgment here on the earth. All right. But see, people don't have that understanding. So they thinking they being saved. And, some people be like, well, he died and he wasn't saved and he's going to go to hell. No, his ass if you're going to be in hell, your hell is right here, For you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, up until this here time right now, even into the same time, every time you was dying, you was brought right back, you went to heaven, right? The Heavenly Father revealed to you all things, all right? But then he sent you right back into the earth. You don't have no remembrance of your forelife, all right? But now you in hell right here, right now, right? I'm speaking right now from the belly of the beast in the depths of hell right now. We in hell, right? That's why we be crying out to the Lord to save us from this hell that we in. And I'm going to grab that in the scriptures. But let me, real quick, because I know this is a stumbling block to some of our people, let me deal with Esau real quick. This is Hebrews 12:16. It says, "Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For you know how that afterwards, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears." So, there's, that's out the question for Esau. All right. Because it's not nobody's opinion. Nobody's, is written clearly right here in the scriptures. You know, there's no getting around that. You know, anybody want to debate that, they'd have to try to, you know, get around this. Plus, there's millions of other scriptures, you know, that we can get to that shows that Esau is going to be destroyed in the end. He's not going to be saved. You know what I'm saying? Now, when you want to get a little technical with it, when we get into our kingdom of heaven, the so-called white man will be there. All right. Just like how we in his heaven right now, but we in hell. All right. His heaven was having us build up his kingdom. All right. But that's how we're going to wind up be. It's going to be reversed in the kingdom of heaven. All right. We're going to be in rulership. We're going to be enjoying our heaven while he's still going to be there, but it's going to be hell for him. His condition, it's a condition that he's in. All right. Just like right now, you could be sitting at the table with, you know, Donald Trump or any of these Edomites, these high level Edomites. All right. Whereas he's in his heaven and you in your hell. All right. But nevertheless, let me get back to, dealing with the Israelites. All right. Because this is a stumbling block that our people stumble over all the time. I'm in the wrong chapter. All right, so I'm going to jump down. I'm going to read Deuteronomy 28, start at verse 64 to kind of set it up to where we, you know, where we at now and how we got to where we at. All right, this is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64. It says, and Yahweh shall scatter. Now, to preface this, if you don't understand where this is coming from, all right, let me just read verse 15. All right, this is the covenant that the Most High made with the children of Israel. It says, but it shall, now, if we kept the commandments, verse 1 through 14 tells us the blessings. Now, when we started 15 on down, these are the curses. All right, verse 15 says, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. All right, so these are all the curses that will come up upon us. All right, which we live in these curses out now. All right. So this is Deuteronomy 28 and 64. It says, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. All right, so let's deal with the top part where it says, Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth to the other end. All right, now not to get too far into, you know, proving the point that we're the Israelites based off of slavery or whatever, whatnot, but just, hey, if you know, quick reference, if you want to look that up, go search out all these other people on planet Earth, the Chinese, the Arabs, so on and so forth, and see which one of these nations or these so-called groups or races of people have been scattered into the four corners of the earth. How do I put this? Beyond their own will. You know, they was forcefully taken and scattered into the four corners of the earth. They didn't get onto no airplane or no boat and say, you know what, we're going to move to this here land for free. You know, like these so-called Edomites, they spread over the whole four corners of the earth, but nobody took them into captivity and spread them around the four corners of the earth. Them themselves went out on so-called conquest to conquer these different lands. So, you know what I'm saying? The so-called white man, yeah, they in every nation, every place of the planet Earth, but they don't fit this script because they wasn't cast out or exiled out into these four corners of the earth, into these different nations beyond their own will. They wasn't forcefully taken. All right. Only you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, that happened to you. All right. Verse 65, and among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. All right. And pair that with the same thing. All right. You found another nation or another race of people that you think that has been scattered among the four corners of the earth. All right. Maybe they were scattered around the four corners of the earth, but now are they living with their life in doubt? You know what I'm saying? Not knowing, you know, if they're going to make it to the, you know, the next day, the next year, where they're going to be 5 years from now. Their life not hanging in doubt like that. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, if these other nations happen to move to a different landmass like that, is for, you know, they trying to prosper, trying to get up, you know, a little better for their own stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily like, for instance, like how, you know, even though these are Israelites, you hear stories about how so-called Mexicans come over to America, all right, to get a little better living, and because they can make more money, and they send money back to their family in Mexico. All right. It's not necessarily, now, obviously these are Israelites under curses, but just based off of that example, you know, you have people moving to a different land. They moving for economic reasons. All right. Now they sending money back to their homeland. They wasn't rounded up and forcibly taken over to this different landmass. All right. So that would be the difference. But nevertheless, this will happen to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. But nevertheless, let's continue on. It says, verse 66, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and thou shalt have no assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou wilt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thy heart wherewith thou shalt fear, for the sight of thy eyes which thou shalt see. All right. And hey, that's the conditions of our people that we living in right now. That's why you have a movement called Black Lives Matter, because it's to the point now where our people are just like, yo, we didn't, you know, first of all, let me clarify. that was set up by the so-called white man. But you can see the genuine concern in a lot of our people. Even if you don't agree with that group, you can see, you can identify to where they're coming from, because, you know, these people gunning us down so much. This is where that, you know, if that was a real phrase, that's where that phrase will come from. It's not saying that, oh, black lives is the only lives that so-called matter. It's like, no, our lives are important as well as everybody else's lives. Y'all aren't counting our lives, you know, not to say black lives, but Israelite lives. You know, you counting us as, you know, how people walk around and, you know, you would look at somebody weird if, you know, you would think something weird to somebody if you seen somebody hold somebody down and just shoot them in their head. You'd be like, damn, you's a crazy motherfucker, man. Why would you do that? You're like, you know, you like, yo, what the fuck is you doing? You know what I'm saying? But you'll walk around and let's say a mosquito fly onto your arm and you'll sit there and smack the mosquito in the blood and his guts is everywhere, right? You don't give a fuck about him because it's not a human being, right? Because why? It's just a bug. It's an insect. You know, you smack mosquitoes all the time. It's on your back of your neck or whatever, whatnot. You step on bugs. Oh, there go a spider. You step on it. You smear his guts everywhere. You see what I'm saying? Well, really, you doing basically the same thing you did to that human being. But what? You're looking at him less, you know, his life is less important than a human being because he's only an insect. He's only a bug. It's just a fucking mosquito. Like, who give a fuck about a mosquito? This is how they look at us. This is why you have to come out saying, you know, let me just rephrase it, instead of saying so-called black lives matter, this like a mosquito saying, well, wait a minute, mosquito lives matter too. Like, motherfucker, we, not to say human, but we live and we got families and shit too. Why are you killing us? Like, if you got remorse for human beings, have remorse for us, just like animals. You know, animal cruelty. You know, again, you walk up to somebody, just some random person, put a gun to their head and blow their brains out. You would sit there and look weird at that person, like, yo, there's something wrong with this motherfucker, right? You would look the same way, you know, nowadays, some people would be like, yo, you know, you walk up to you know, any kind of animal, really, it don't even matter what kind of animal, you put, you know, you go and you shoot this damn animal, and if it's not like you killing the animal for food, protection, like, you know, this fucking bear trying to kill your ass, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're not getting it for food, protection, you know, maybe you need some clothes or some shit out of this shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, but if you just go up and you see somebody dog, and you just go blow the dog brains out, somebody will look at you like you fucked up, right? But see, when they do that to us, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they don't look at us like that. They value a dog's life more than ours. You know what I'm saying? They be like, well, this nigga shouldn't have had a gun. He shouldn't have been reaching. I ain't know if he had something in his pocket or whatever, whatnot. Like, motherfucker, damn. You know what I'm saying? His life wasn't that important. You see what I'm saying? This is why they have that sentiment like that. But this is why, you know, your life is hanging in doubt from day in and day out. You know, let me read verse 67 again. It says, in the morning thou shalt say, what God it was even, and at even thou wilt say, what God it were morning, for the fear of thy heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thy eyes which thou shalt see. You know, you can, you know, certain Jakes living in certain neighborhoods, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know, in the morning time, you know what I'm saying? Or just, you know, just living in regular Jake life, you know, you wake up in the morning, you got to go deal with the stress of life. Like, oh, fuck, I got to get out here, go to work and deal with the so-called white man or whatever, whatnot. While you at work the whole time, you know, like most of you Jake just got jobs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Especially, hey, just being an Israelite here in America, you know what I'm saying? Most of you, you know what I'm saying? Hey, just look at just look at how the people do it in the world, right? Just look at our people, like the 2/3 or whatever, whatnot. Go downtown in any city on the weekends, all right? And you'll see that the bars and all these different things, they selling out. You know what I'm saying? If you could go to the damn the dope boys and how you say measure how they business is doing, you'll realize that the dope boys and the bars and stuff like that, they be racking up on business around the weekends. Why? Because our people, they like, man, I can't wait till the weekend, bro. I just need to get off. I'm tired of this shit. You know what I'm saying? We be stressed out all the time. So when you at work, you know what I'm saying? No matter where it is throughout the week, you just like, man, I can't wait to get off of work, bro. Then you can't wait till the weekend. And then you got to go and you got to do what they call escapism. All right. This is why a lot of our people are on drugs and alcohol and shit like that heavily. They trying to escape this here hell that we in. All right. Again, going back into what you need to be saved from. You over here talking about you saved, but yet you going out to the fucking bar and on the weekends and getting toe out the frame. Not even going to the bar. You know, I'm not saying that none of this is like, how do I say wicked, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that you got to understand why you doing these things, because shit, you might not even go to the bar. You might just be at the damn house. You know what I'm saying? And you just want to try to drink to escape whatever you're going through, whatever, whatnot, not remember what you got going on. You know what I'm saying? Or you see Jake doing drugs and shit like that. And really, Jake do drugs differently than so-called white man. The white man do drugs for how they would say recreational use. You know what I'm saying? Where Jake uses drugs for medicinal uses. All right. Esau is over here and look at the drugs that he's using. It's fucking cocaine and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Homeboy getting all up, party. But our people, they be doing like what? They smoke and then they drink, you know what I'm saying? Things that'll calm them down so they can like Hey, verse 67, you know, they stress the fuck out over all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? They just want to relax. Like, man, need something to calm down with. You know what I'm saying? I'm so high strung just from living in this damn life. You know, nobody realize how hard it is living in our damn life, man. You know, we literally, verse 67 is how it is, man. Hey, you ain't got to, you know, it might be hard for the so-called white man to understand how it is to be a Jake in this here world. But all I got to say is, like, for any of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you ain't got to be doing nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying? You could be riding clean as fuck. You ain't got to be riding dirty at all. But let the police get behind you just traveling. He might be getting off of work trying to take a shit and speeding to get home, and he riding, you know, he speed up behind you, and all of a sudden you getting up, making sure your seatbelt on. You know what I'm saying? Oh shit, let me get right in this and that, turn the radio down, and you ain't even did shit wrong, right? Your license is good, your insurance is good, your tags is good, your tail lights is working, everything is good. You know what I'm saying? You might even be motherfucking in a parking lot, you know, at the store, while your wife is inside the damn store, some shit like that. They done ran inside the store, and you sitting out in the parking lot in the car because you ain't want to go in. She gonna be in and out, and the police ride through the damn parking lot, and you just like, oh fuck, you know, I'm sitting over here. You look thinking about all the scenarios of what he thinking you might be doing. Like, damn, I'm just sitting in the car. He might be thinking, the fuck am I just sitting in the car for? He might think I'm over here doing some drugs or selling some drugs or waiting on somebody to do some drugs. You know what I'm saying? You thinking all these different things in your mind of what he's thinking, because you got to think of, is this nigga gonna come over here and kill me today? Is he gonna come over here and throw me in jail today? Is he gonna come over here and whoop my ass today? I mean, we have plenty of stories of these things going down. Emmett Till, oh, he whistled at a white woman or something, or I believe he might have been the one who wound up so-called falling into a white woman in the elevator, so-called, and they wound up killing him. You see what I'm saying? Or Trayvon Martin walking home, you know what I'm saying? Walking home with some Skittles and a damn Arizona tea. You see what I'm saying? The so-called white, or he wasn't even white really, but you know what I'm saying? Somebody that's brainwashed under the so-called white man system, all right? Thinking that they, part of the so-called white man winds up gunning him down, thinking he's a threat, even though the police told him not to deal with him, you know? Jake getting shot in the car after telling the police, yo, I got a legal firearm and so on and so forth after getting pulled over. You know what I'm saying? Jake in the seatbelt getting shot. Like, bro, how am I going to think about it, bro? I'm about to start, you standing up and you got the gun already drawn on me or whatever, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And I'm inside the car sitting down. And you ask me for my identification and I got my seatbelt on. It's not like I can really grab my gun and try to get a good drop on you while you already got the drop on me. You standing and pointing down. I'm in the car. I got to reach for the gun, get the gun, try to turn and shoot at your ass. And I'm in a seatbelt. That don't even make no fucking sense. You see what I'm saying? But yet and still, we got to still fear in our life. And the video where the girl had videotaped all that with the little girl in the back seat, and while she videotaping this, hey, homegirl had to be calm as fuck. You know, that was the spirit of the Lord. He just put on her to videotape that to be that damn calm. But nevertheless, homeboy just got shot right there beside her, and still she can't even really be like, yo, bro, you tripping, bro. You just shot him for no fucking reason. Now I'm in fear of my life because you not stable. You liable to kill all of us, and you still gonna get off on it. Like, yo, dog, like my life is in danger right now because some psychopathic motherfucker know he can get away with the shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the shit that we need salvation from, bro. They didn't do nothing wrong in the car. Everything they was doing was, they was really being harassed and just murdered for no reason. All right. But nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? Even the girl that was sitting there, inside the car, where basically some rogue random motherfucker at this point in time, because you're not no trained police officer at this point who making irrational decisions like this, shooting somebody. You just firing a car indiscriminately inside a car, or firing a gun inside a car like that. All right. Like, yo, you gotta evaluate this motherfucker's mind state. Like, yo, man, fuck your badge and your uniform, nigga. Nah, hold up, bro. You not qualified to be no police around me. I can't trust your ass. You know what I'm saying? Because you unstable. But nevertheless, this is why our life is fearing in, how do I say? Our life is hanging, basically hanging on a thin line in front of our eyes. You know what I'm saying? The whole time that we here, man, we in fear of our life the whole damn time. All right. Like I said, you wake up in the morning, you got to go to work. You tired of dealing with the so-called white man and working all these different stresses and different things like that going on, man. You just like, man, I can't wait to get out for work. Can't wait to the weekend. Can't wait to take this here vacation to escape from all this here hell, basically, you know. Not basically, in reality, that's what it is. You're trying to escape. But see, you don't want to really face the shit because your hell is so fucking bad that you don't even really want to acknowledge, yeah, we in hell, man. This is not the way we supposed to be living, man. I'm not supposed to be slaving to no fucking white man my whole goddamn life and end up with, well, according to the curses that we under, that's our lot. But in reality, in your real mind, this is not how you're supposed to be living, man. All right, we living in wickedness. We supposed to be living in righteousness. So somebody in their sane mind, you know what I'm saying, they would understand these different things. That's why the scriptures also say, pressure make a wise man mad. All right. You understand these different things. Like, yo, this motherfucker just came down and just shot me for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Or the Eric Gardner situation. Everybody want to say, oh, he was selling loose cigarettes, so he got shot. Like, nah, this nigga was known for selling loose cigarettes. He wasn't selling loose cigarettes that day, which, what the fuck is that even illegal? Like, why is that a problem that he's selling loose cigarettes? Motherfucker, he's selling something, you know, single cigarettes for Jake. Again, escapism. They can't even afford the whole fucking pack of cigarettes to try to escape from the shit that they going through. Not promoting this shit, but just, you gotta think about the mindsets of our people while they doing this shit, man. You see what I'm saying? When you see people that be on drugs and shit like that, why are people on drugs? They don't want to be in that condition, man. This is something this is not recreational use for our people. It's medicinal use to escape the hell that they in. So sometimes, like when you see, like where I grew up at, man, just as a small little testimony, it's like people be weirded out when I tell them, like, nah, I ain't never did no cocaine in my life, bro. Like, I was traumatized as a kid, you know, growing up in Atlanta, in the area that I grew up in, man. You always see homeless people strung out under the bridge, and they all look like me, man. In Atlanta, you very rarely found or came across so-called white people. Just everybody around you look like you. So when you see all these people as a little kid up under the bridge and they all strung the fuck out and shit like that, and women and shit walking down the block all strung out, you ask your parents what's wrong with them, and they tell you, oh, they on drugs, they crackheads or whatever, whatnot. You know, you see them doing all this crazy shit, and you don't want to grow up to be like them, so that to kind of do something to you. You're like, fuck that, I ain't trying to be like that, you know. I see what happened to all these people, so on and so forth, you know. So you don't want to be dealing with that shit. But nevertheless, when you see our people that's on them drugs like that, if you ask them if they want to be on them drugs, they probably don't want to be on them drugs. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you see our women who strip or prostitute and stuff like that, you ask them versus the so-called white women, some of them actually like doing that. That's the thing that they want to do. You know what I'm saying? I just feel good doing this. But for our women, not necessarily saying in this time frame that we living in right now, because most of our women are doing this shit for attention. But nevertheless, you would ask some of our women back in those days why they out here stripping, why they selling their body. Like, I'm just doing what I got to do to make sure I can feed my kids or whatever, whatnot. You see what I'm saying? So we're not doing these things for so-called recreational uses. We doing these things as a result, all right, of us being in hell. All right. So if you can't see the hell that you're around, look at all the things that you see our people doing and either ask them or try to figure out why the fuck they doing these things, because nobody's proud. You've never heard this shit. I'm a proud crackhead. I've been doing crack 35 years strong, my nigga. I'm a proud crackhead. You ain't never heard that from our people, man. All right, you hear these so-called, these Edomites and shit like that. They always make references to that and shit like that. I used to work with a motherfucker. I used to work with a whole lot of motherfuckers like this. I never knew this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to be rebranded on the whole crackhead thing. Like, wait a minute. Our people's, they just strung the fuck out. But y'all motherfuckers is like functional crackheads. Y'all niggas, I thought that, nigga, don't you gotta pass a drug test to get here, work here? But again, they drugs don't stay in their system that long, and you can't smell it on their ass, and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, as you see, verse 67, how our life is hanging in fear day and night. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you're trying to escapism from when you wake up in the morning. All right, you might just be in the middle of your day going to the grocery store, like I said, with your wife or whatever, whatnot, or whatever type of store. You just need to run the bells real quick or whatever, whatnot, to return the item or whatever, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You just sitting in the car now, the police rolling through. Now you in fear because you don't know if you're gonna roll up on you, question why you sitting in the car. All right, not too long ago, there was a video I was talking about. It was, matter of fact, this case went down the same day Nipsey Hussle wound up getting killed, and that was basically the cover up. Not to say that happened as a cover up to this, but that happened to be swept under a rug in light of the Nipsey Hussle thing. But there was another, I guess, up and coming rapper or whatever, whatnot. This is how the news described him. I don't know this person, but nevertheless, it was a Jake. But, you know, they got video footage of it. They got Homeboy. The cops is surrounding Homeboy in his car. All right. And they say he's sleeping. They clearly showing with the body cams, Homeboy sleep, but they just surrounding the car. You know what I'm saying? For about 15 minutes, pointing their guns at him, whatever, whatnot. And they're like, I don't know. I see a gun on his lap. Which I believe he did actually have a gun on his lap. And they was like, well, if he got a gun, he might only got one shot because the clip is out. But it was an extended clip. But nevertheless, Homeboy's in his car, the car running. Homeboy is in the car asleep. Now, I can put myself in his shoes and understand exactly where he coming from. I don't know what the fuck he was doing, why he might have been sleeping in the car. But you don't know. He might have been traveling. You know what I'm saying? He might have just pulled over to the side of the road and went to sleep wherever he was at. Homeboy didn't have tinted windows on his car, whatever, whatnot. And he might not have had a hotel, wherever. He just probably wanted to go to fuck to sleep in his car. There's lots of so-called these Edomites and shit like that. This homeless is sleeping in their fucking cars. I seen a video of these motherfuckers like, yeah, I camp in the back of my pickup truck. I pull up into some neighborhood and sleep in front of somebody's house. Like, if Jake was to pull up in somebody down in the Edomites neighborhood and sleep in front of their shit, homeless in their car, they beat and got killed. All right, but Esau can do that. But Jake is in a parking lot, sleep, got the car running. All right. He's got a gun on his lap, no tinted windows. And I'm thinking he probably did that. Like, yo, I got to sleep in my car, but I know it ain't quite safe. But I'm going to put this here gun on my lap. So if somebody want to try to come up and rob me, at least if they had to bust the window, the doors is locked. So if they got to bust the windows, I'll hear that. I'll have the gun on my lap. They'll already know I got a gun. They'll probably be less likely to try the shit. You see what I'm saying? He's not a threat to nobody. Obviously, if he's asleep, he ain't pointing the gun at nobody. Nobody called the police on his ass. All right. But then they talking about, oh, well, the car's in drive. Like, how does motherfucker sleep with the car in drive? The tail lights, the brake lights ain't on. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. This motherfucker's car is not in drive while this motherfucker sleep. You got to have pressure on the brake. If not, the car will be rolling. All right. But nevertheless, they decided to shoot this guy anyway. Instead of waking him up, they just shot this motherfucker like 30 some times and killed him. All right. So again, homeboy was asleep. He wasn't even conscious when he got killed. How do you be doing something wrong when you ain't even conscious? All right. Now let's go to the nighttime. Like I said, some of the neighborhoods we in, you might not know if you're going to get killed by a stray bullet. Police going to kick in your door. The Klan come into your house and burn down your house and stuff like that while you sleep. Yes, this still go on in 2019. You got to just live in the backwoods. You know what I'm saying? Certain places in Georgia and stuff like this really do happen. All right. But nevertheless, let me continue on. Verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. All right. Going in and out into Egypt, more or less, bondage. All right. The house of bondage. Because why? We never went back into Egypt as a whole, into captivity like that. All right. You might have some Israelites who went back to, Egypt and lived there, here and there. But for the most part, as a whole, Israel never went back into Egypt to dwell in Egypt. Like, when Yahushua, right? When Yahushua was born, all right, when he was a young kid, because Herod wanted to kill them all, you know, they went and they dwelt amongst, in Egypt, but that wasn't all of the Israelites dwelling over there in Egypt like that. All right. So like I said, you might have had some Israelites that went back and lived over in Egypt, whatever, whatnot. Just, hey, we just decided to live over there. Just like how right now, the majority, not to say the majority of us, but you know, there's a lot of us Israelites right here in America. All right. And, we, like the scriptures say, we was going to be like we reading right here. We was going to be scattered from our homeland. We was not going to live in the land of Israel no more until the Lord come and bring us back. But guess what? There are some real Israelites living over in Israel right now. All right. We scattered into the four corners of the earth, and we're going to be, but what the scripture here is saying is, as a whole, our nation of our people is not going to be brought back into their land again. We're not going to be brought up out of this here captivity. We was all going to be brought into slavery. All right. Bondage. We was all be brought into bondage. All right. So Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68, it says, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt, or bondage or slavery, again with ships. And again, Egypt, Yahushua's parents and them, when they went, it was like, I believe, a 3-day journey on foot that they wound up walking. All right. So we wouldn't have had to take no ship to Egypt to get there. And plus, when we walked out Egypt, what do they call it? It was like the Red Sea, but it was a different portion of the Red Sea, not the real wide part. But nevertheless, we walked through the Red Sea. You see what I'm saying? You didn't really need a boat from that position to go from one side to the other side. You see what I'm saying? And plus, like I said, if you look at a map, Israel and like Egypt are very, very close to one another. You just see what I'm saying? And there's actually a connection that you can make over there. You can just literally just walk over there. All right. But nevertheless, it says, Deuteronomy 28:68, and Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more, and thou shalt be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now, when it says no man shall buy you, all right, that means no man's going to redeem you, because we were sold, well, it says, thou shalt see it no more, and there thou shalt be sold unto your enemies, all right, for bondmen and bondwomen. You're going to be sold for slaves, and no man shall buy you. That's kind of a contradictory statement. But what it's talking about, because we were sold as slaves on the New York Stock Exchange. We was the first stocks. We was the first people in bondage and sold for stock on a stock exchange. All right. But nevertheless, and people was buying us, but this means no man's going to redeem you or bring you up out of that, slave state. All right. So like when, we had certain things like in our law, like, if let's say you was falling behind financially, whatever, whatnot, you can basically, like in modern days, today's, right? You fall back on some kind of situation financially, right? What Jake normally wind up doing, our forms of financial institutions, what Jake will do is they'll go to the pawn shop, right? They'll go to the pawn shop, maybe pawn a wedding ring, pawn whatever. They'll pawn something, right? But now you still in straits and you can't get that wedding ring back. But this wedding ring been passed down from generation to generation. Maybe one of your brothers will go in like, look, man, this is my brother wedding ring. Let me go ahead and pay off his little debt, or put some money on it. You know what I'm saying? To redeem that back so that he don't lose it. He can't afford to get it out. but let me go ahead and redeem it for you. Let me go ahead and pay. I got the ticket. Let me go ahead and pay off the price on this here ticket to get that there ring back. Let me redeem it. You know what I'm saying? Because my brother can't redeem it. He ain't got no money. Let me go redeem it. All right. We was able to do the same thing with land and stuff like that, or also with our brother and stuff like that. But in this situation, it's the same thing. We was sold into slavery, or we was taken to the pawn shop. All right. And the only person basically that has that pawn shop ticket to get us out is the same person that put us in. All right. Just like some pawn shops for real. Like, yo, if you didn't sign this ticket to put this in the pawn shop, you can't take it out. I don't care if it was your mama, your son, your brother, your wife, or your husband. If your name ain't on the ticket, you didn't pawn it in, you can't take it out the pawn. So who was the one who put us into this here pawn shop? All right. The Most High, what we're reading right now, this was the covenant he made. So what? He was the one who put us into the pawn shop. All right. And only he's going to be the one to take us up out of the pawn shop by way of Yahushua. All right. So Yahushua is the only one that's going to be able to redeem us. Martin Luther King couldn't redeem us with his pawn shop ticket. Malcolm X couldn't redeem us with his pawn shop ticket. Marcus Garvey couldn't redeem us with his pawn shop ticket. You know, anybody else who has tried this in all these different ways and beings, they, you know, the so-called black leaders and things like that, they could never so-called redeem us from this here state. We still in captivity under the so-called white man into this here day. All right. So now setting this all up as a preface of going into what? Being saved. All right. Now you see where you at and the situations and the calamities that you in now. Lord willing, your eyes a little more open now that you can, you know, if you didn't see it before, be like, oh shit, I am in hell. All right. You know, like, a lot of our men, you know, not necessarily saying in this here time right now, because, you know, there's a big change with this brainwashing that's going on. People are waxing worse and worse, but you might have some men, you know what I'm saying, who really want to be around their children and take care of their wives or whatever, whatnot. But because of the system, you see them saying this hell and this oppression is being put down on them. So you can see why certain things is going around. You're like, damn, now I understand why, you know, homeboy is drinking all the damn time at the bar, or why homeboy is always smoking, or why homeboy is always trying to, you know, escape this or that, whatever, whatnot, because they going through some shit in their mind. They actually in hell right now. All right. What's going to help or save our people from getting out this here hell? Why do you think our people be trying to get the so-called bag? All right. They think getting the bag gonna get them up out their hell, man. If only I had some money gonna fix all this. I ain't got to be in the projects no more. I get my mom in her house. She ain't got to be stressing no more. We ain't got to be worried about this shit. So they trying to escape what? Their hell. All right. But what? The Lord said that no man's going to buy you or redeem you. You're going to be stuck here until the Lord come and bring you out, because he the one who sold you into the pawn shop. Now he going to be the one that have to deliver you up out of the pawn shop. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and try to unravel some of this, because like I was saying, we was brought into captivity. All right. Because of why? We went off on the law, statutes, commandments. All right. The so-called white man wound up taking it to the full extremes. All right. We read about how he took us into captivity, but then him and these other nations going to catch their judgment for what they did to us. All right. But that still leave us in this here captivity state. All right. So now let's deal with that. All right. So we're going to start out here in the book of Isaiah, chapter 11 and verse 11. All right. So again, like we just read, we was scattered into the four corners of the earth and to all these different nations. All right. That was our curse that the Most High brought upon us. All right. That's, you know, I'll keep going back to this metaphor because I know a lot of our people can relate to this. All right. You know, if you wind up losing your job, you know, you got a husband and a wife, the Most High and his wife, right? She's saying, look, if you wind up losing your job, I don't know how we going to pay these bills. He wound up losing his job. So now he got to go and take, let's say he got a golden chicken. We the golden chicken, something of value, right? Man, we was eating up off of this or whatever, whatever. Oh, I'm going to take my wedding ring. Go pawn the wedding ring. Now we represent the wedding ring, right? He put us into the pawn shop to basically make it through this here situation. All right. But now he's going to come and redeem us when he's taking us out of the pawn shop. When you go to collect from the pawn shop, you know, okay, I'm back on my feet now. Now let me go ahead and take this out of the pawn shop. But by no means is the Most High was off of his feet. We fucked up. Let's not get that confused. But I'm just using the analogy of the pawn shop because you understand, you know, how you can go put something in and you get a ticket to get it out, and nobody without, you know, proper identification can just go get that out the pawn shop. You can't go to the pawn shop and look through the window and see somebody else's Xbox or some shit like, yo, let me get that Xbox. If they don't got it out for sale, you can't buy it. It's just in there as a loan, right? So it says, and now we were in captivity or in the pawn shop, all right, but now it's time to redeem that their ticket, all right? Going into us being saved, all right? That item in the pawn shop is now being saved from being what? Put on the sale, being, you know, that item being us is in the pawn shop, but it's on hold for right now until we can redeem it. But if we don't redeem it, then what's going to happen to that item? Now that item is still going to be out of our possession. Now it's going to go onto the shelf, and now it's going to be for sale. Now the next so-called slave owner or whoever can take it and put it in their own possession, do whatever they want to do with, however they want to do with it. All right. And that would be us. So the Lord is, all right, this is the end of our captivity. So nobody else is going to want to, the Lord is not going to lose his his parcel in the pawn shop, and another person not going to come and buy that off the pawn shop, and then we're not going to be in captivity under somebody else. All right. If that analogy kind of make a little sense. All right. This is the end of our captivity. All right. So it's now time for us to be redeemed back unto the Lord. All right. Time for him to go cash in on his pawn shop ticket and go pick up his items that he first put in there. All right. Isaiah 11:11. And it shall come to pass that in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. So again, like I'm saying, the Lord, now it's time for him to go back to the pawn shop for the second time, not to go take something to the pawn shop to pawn it, but now to go redeem it. Now I done got my paycheck. I'm back on my feet. All the bills is paid. I got a little extra money. Now I can go get my wedding ring from out the pawn shop. All right. It says, a second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, from Shinar, from Hamath, and from the isles of the sea. All right. Why would they say all these different places? All right. Because we were scattered into the four corners of the earth, like we just read. We was exiled into the four corners of the earth, into every nation. All right. Like I was saying earlier, like, you might find races of people in all different nations of the planet Earth. However, those people didn't get over there by the force of the sword or somebody else forcing them to go over there. All right. Chinese people, you might could find them in almost every nation, but what? They decided to move and expand out like that. They wasn't, we're going to take you as a prisoner of war and bring your ass over here and keep you in captivity. No, that didn't happen to them. That only happened to us. But what? The Lord said he was going to bring us back from these different places. All right. Let me come back to this. So I think it's in Acts 2. Yep. Acts 2. Let me just read a couple of these things here. It says, Acts 2:5, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. All right. Now, this is also to crush one of those stumbling blocks of, black people only, so-called, like, now we do tell you that the Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but it's a little deeper than that. All right. Now, this is how you would identify us in the masses. All right. Now, DNA wise, we all the same people. However, the way we live nowadays in this society, we like to focus on people's race based off of their visual appearance. All right. So we would say somebody that looked like Donald Trump is a so-called white man. All right. But however, in reality, all right, or I'll use this analogy. Somebody that looked like Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone is a so-called white man. However, Blake Griffin's son looked just like Macaulay Culkin. But however, he's a Levite, a so-called Haitian. All right. And you would think that Haitians would be really dark-skinned people. However, his grandson looked like a straight up white boy. All right. So now when we go into like the confusion of faces and like how we tell you that the so-called white man can't be saved, and so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are going to be they the only ones going to be saved. They're the Israelites, right? And this is only for our people. It's only for the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But then some people have stumbling blocks where they look at us and they'll see people in camps that look like so-called white boys. You see what I'm saying? You might see somebody in the camp that like a so-called Chinese person or so-called Filipino person or wherever. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, you got to understand we were scattered into the four corners of the earth. We would mix and mingle with these different people. Just like I implore you to go look up Blake Griffin's father. Look up a picture of Blake Griffin's father, how dark he is. Look at Blake Griffin's mother. She looked like a so-called white woman, and you get Blake Griffin as a product. Now, Blake Griffin, baby mama, look also like a so-called white woman, and you look at their child. Now this little boy look like a straight up white boy. All right. It only take 3 generations to completely change somebody's skin color. All right. Now, there will be a time and a place, like we read in Revelation, Revelation, what is that, 7, I believe verse 9, talking about this multitude out of every kindred, out of every nation. Well, I'll grab that too. But nevertheless, let me grab that first. Nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? Don't let that be a stumbling block to you if you see so-called white boys in the camp. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Yo, man, if they got that spirit on them, you better believe, it's they Israelites. All right. So this is Revelation 7 and 9. And after this, I beheld and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and peoples and tongues stood before the throne, before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. So people would think that especially with the learning, the Gentiles. Yeah, they Gentiles, but they Israelites. They don't know that they Israelites. All right. They're not the other nations. However, they may be dwelling in these other nations. They may look like these other nations. They may speak these other nations' languages. Let's say, for instance, a straight up Chinese motherfucker speaking Chinese, only know Chinese shit. Right. But nevertheless, they Israelites because they were scattered over there. You know what I'm saying? That's the same seed line, the same sperm line going all the way down. Just because they look different don't mean no different. All right. Like I said, Blake Griffin's son, all right, can grow up in a so-called white neighborhood around white folks and so on and so forth and marry another white woman. You know what I'm saying? And have kids with this white woman and their kids come out white all the way on down. You know what I'm saying? And as you see them and their grandbabies and their family pictures, you looking at a whole family of so-called white people. But in reality, they all Levites, so-called Haitians. All right. You have a family reunion with a family picture, 35 white people on the picture, but they all so-called Haitians. All right. They all Levites, even though they don't look like that in skin color. All right. So, don't let that be a stumbling block unto you when you see things like that. And that's why we say it's not really about skin color, but for, your purposes, because you're in a Gentile state of mind, you don't understand the word Edom or Jacob or Israel like that. So we'll tell you the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, or the so-called white man. We use those terms because we know you can better understand those terms that way. All right. It's not because of the fact that that's who we talking about. No. All right. Because Hamites, the so-called black men too. All right. But they're not the children of Israel. They're not going to be saved. They going to go into captivity. All right. But now let me go back to Acts real fast. Acts 2:5. There was dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. All right. Verse 6. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and they were confounded because every man heard them speaking his own language. Now let me just jump down. All right. Now, verse 8. And how hear we every man in our own tongue where when we were born. All right. So these people were born in different places. Parthians, Medes, Elamites. All right. Dwellers of Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia. All right. So like when you read in these things, right, in modern days, today's terms, we call people sometimes based off of the landmass that they was born on. All right. Not by who they really are. We'll just call them, like you can have so-called Mexicans here. That's a stumbling block to some people. You have so-called Mexicans that's born here in America. They'd be like, oh, they Americans. All right. Or whatever, whatnot. All right. But here they would, sometimes you would say Parthians, or these are Parthians. Well, yeah, they Parthians by citizenship. That's where they was born at, or Elamites because that's where they was born at. But they're not the descendants of Elam. They're not Elamites that way. You see what I'm saying? We Americans because we was born here in America and by citizenship, we Americans. But nah, we, a so-called white American and a so-called black American. Yeah, we both Americans by citizenship. You know what I'm saying? But what he an Edomite and I'm an Israelite. We completely different people. You see what I'm saying? Now let me go back over to come on. This is Isaiah 11:11 again. And it shall come to pass that in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, from Shinar, and from Hamath, and the isles of the sea. All right, because why? We read earlier that we was going to be scattered to the four corners of the earth. All right, so this is why you seen the prophecies play out. And Acts, when they was reading, why was they talking about all these different men coming back to Jerusalem? Because they wasn't even living in the land of Israel, even though that we wasn't. This was like before 70 AD when we was scattered and exiled from the land completely. All right, we was already living in different places at that same time. All right, just like in Egypt, Egypt is mentioned right here. But again, like I was saying, it wasn't a massive amount of us. Like the majority of us wasn't there like that. All right, but nevertheless, you had us scattered into those places at that point in time. All right, but at the end all be all. What? When transatlantic slave trade came, we was removed far from our borders. All right. That was when we was fully scattered into the four corners of the earth, or the real definition of the so-called, or of the Israelite diaspora. All right. Verse 12, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. All right. So if the Israelites were scattered into the four corners of the earth, all right, the Lord said he was going to assemble them and join them back up. He's going to gather them all back up together. All right. Because you have to understand, this is part of our curse. We were scattered to the four corners of the earth. We was scattered everywhere. But now the Lord is saying, look, all right, part of, like Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7 goes into these curses was going to be lifted up off of us and placed on our enemies, which is Esau, Edom. We seen this transition happen. And then we also see, the different lessons I was dealing with so-called white man and his reparations that he gonna wind up having to pay and him going into slavery. All these things are turned back around on him. But as they scattered us into these different nations, we're gonna be starting to be brought back. All right. And this is why you're starting to see certain things like what? These large so-called immigrant caravans coming up to the so-called Americas. Oh, you got a bunch of people from Central and South America trying to make their way on up here. These are all Israelites. All right. They coming in here for one or two different reasons, for salvation or basically judgment. All right. But nevertheless, you start to see these things come to pass. All right. The Lord is gathering us all back up, first and foremost, spiritually. All right. You know, let me just keep reading on down. It says, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. All right. So what? Starting in the spiritual thing first, we can, well, I'll grab that a little later when you talk about in Ezekiel 37, the two sticks. All right. First and foremost, spiritually, because the curses that was on us, there was going to be bitterness between the brethren, right? You know what I'm saying? First and foremost, between the different tribes like Judah and Ephraim. All right. But then again, also Judah and Judah. All right. You see black, like they say, black on black crime. All right. But then you also have like what? The so-called Mexicans and the so-called Puerto Ricans don't get along. The so-called Haitians and the so-called Negroes don't get along. The so-called Negroes and the so-called Mexicans don't get along. You see what I'm saying? So the Lord was going to start closing up those breaches between what? Brethren in the same household, and then brethren between, you know, the different tribes. All right. You start to see this happen now. The men of the Lord are being raised up. We're on the highways and the byways in the same camp together with the same, you know, different tribes. You know what I'm saying? But then not only in the camps, you start to see this out there in the carnal world with the rest of these people, you know, with these gangs and stuff like that. They start to join together. The blacks and the so-called Negroes and the so-called Hispanics are joining together and all these different things. All right. The Lord is bringing us back together, putting us back together, gathering us up first and foremost in spirit. Then he's actually gathering us back up together physically. All right. Bringing us all back together and then all on one accord for what? Deliverance. All right. So we're going to go from there to the book of Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 7. For thus saith Yahweh, sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish ye and praise ye, and say, O Yahweh, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. All right. And hey, like Yahweh said, in this very day was this here prophecy confirmed in your eyes, because that's exactly what we doing, man. We going on the highways and the byways, and we singing that new song that no man can learn. All right, according to Revelation 14, all right, which you could preface that with Revelation 5 about, you know, or going back to Daniel chapter 12, where the book's being sealed, and then Revelation 5, how no man was able to open the seals. Revelation 14 tell you that 144,000 was standing with Yahweh, and they was singing this here song that no man could learn. All right, but the 144,000. And this is what we out here doing right now. We publishing this. When I get done with this video, I got to upload it to YouTube and hit the publish button, right? Publishing it out there, putting it out on the highways and the byways and on the really the four corners of the earth with the internet. All right. So it says, for thus saith Yahweh, sing with gladness for Jacob. And that's what we're doing right now. You know, we raising our people back up. Look, it's salvation time, man. We're not coming out here with a message like, yeah, you in captivity, you're going to be slaves for the rest of your life. Just deal with it. We're not coming out there with no message like that. No, we coming out with a message of rejoicing. Hey, man, our captivity is about done. Get right so the Lord can come deliver us, man. All right. Look, man, we've been out here waiting to go get about this hellhole for the longest time, man. Look, the bus finna come. They selling tickets. There's only 2 tickets left. Here go the money. Go get in line and go get your ticket so we can get the fuck up out of here. All right. So for thus saith Yahweh, sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. All right. Publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Yahweh, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. All right. Now, again, what do you mean by saving the people? All right. You got to keep in mind that the Israelites, the people who salvation is for, all right, like the scriptures say, the Lord was sent to give repentance to the house of Israel. All right, not all these other nations, but to the house of Israel. Why is it that way? Why? It's not that the Lord is being mean. These other nations ain't in the same position as Israel. All right, let me bring it to a carnal sense. You got me and JoJo, right? Me and JoJo, we some thugged out ass niggas, right? We just doing some crazy shit. Now, me and JoJo, let's say, kicked in somebody's door. We robbed somebody, right? I wound up getting caught. JoJo didn't get caught. Everybody got, you know, free Dawada t-shirts, right? But now, ain't nobody over here trying to post bail. People trying to post bail for me to get me out. They got the free Dawada t-shirts. Ain't nobody worried about JoJo, because JoJo free. Nobody saying, oh, free JoJo. Let's get some bail money for JoJo. But JoJo don't need no bail money. JoJo ain't locked up. This is why you don't need to go and bail him out of jail. You see what I'm saying? This is a crazy thing that our people be like, yo, these people don't need salvation. What do you mean? Everybody needs to be saved. All right, well, how about I go bail you out of jail? What do you mean? I'm not in jail. I don't need to be bailed out of jail. I'm sitting right here talking to you. Exactly my point. How do you need to be bailed out of jail if you're not even locked up? You see what I'm saying? Like that, there's no point. But only the Israelites was going to be scattered to the four corners of the earth and be in captivity under mainly the so-called white men and all these other nations where we was going to be scattered. All right. So only they would need this here bail money to get up out of jail. All right. So it says, behold, I will bring them. Hold on. Let me read this. It says, publish ye and praise ye and say, O Yahweh, save thy people. So like the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north country. All right. Babylon the Great, aka America. All right. North America. This is where we at right here in America. Behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the coasts of the earth, also the four corners of the earth. And with them the blind and the lame and the woman with child and her that travaileth with child together, a great company shall return thither. All right. So this is what it's talking about. Let me go back on up. It says, publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Yahweh, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. So what do you mean by saving them? Saving them so that when they die, their spirit go to heaven? That's not what it's talking about. You got to remember where we at. Where we currently at physically right now. We in captivity. We in bondage. We in jail. All right. We need to get bailed the fuck out. You see what I'm saying? You don't need to be trying to put up my bail money after I'm dead. I don't need bail money after I'm dead. You see what I'm saying? Like after I'm dead, they're going to take me out of the jail anyway. They're going to put me in a damn body bag, take me to the morgue. I'm going to be buried right next to the another motherfucker who wasn't even in jail. We're going to be buried in the same place. So what's the point? All right. Don't even worry about bringing me bail money once I'm dead. Worry about my bail money when I'm in jail. If I'm not in jail, there's no need for me to have no bail money. You see what I'm saying? So these other nations, they not in jail. What the fuck do they need bail money for? All right. It's like saying, yo, dog, y'all need to go bail Donald Trump out. What you mean bail Donald Trump out? This motherfucker ain't in jail. You know what I'm saying? You got people. All right. Prime example. Now I ain't promoting nothing about Tekashi 6ix9ine, but we all know this motherfucker in jail. You know, you got free Tekashi 6ix9ine versus free Donald Trump. Which makes more sense? Donald Trump is a free man, the leader of the so-called free world. He can go do whatever the fuck he want to go do. Tekashi 6ix9ine is locked the fuck up in jail. You see what I'm saying? He's wishing he can get free. He praying for his salvation in jail to get the fuck up out of jail. Donald Trump ain't praying to get the fuck out of jail. He's not in jail. All right. So this is why these other nations don't need no salvation. All right. Donald Trump don't need no bail money right now. So it's not weird or weirded out something bad to say like, yo, Donald Trump don't need bail money. What the fuck he need bail money for? All right. But our people look at us weird when we say the same thing. But speaking on spiritually, oh, they don't need salvation. What the fuck they need salvation for? What you mean? Everybody need to be saved. They don't want to go to hell. They already in heaven. What the fuck you mean? All right. It says, verse 8 again, behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither. Let me see. Might want to read this all the way. Well, I'll just end it there because I got quite a bit more scriptures and it's gonna be quite a long lesson. So let me just continue on. But you can read that all the way on down. Going into Ezekiel 11, verse 17. It says, give me 1 second. All right, let me start at verse 16. All right, recapping on how we got to where we at. All right, Ezekiel 11 and 16. Therefore say, thus saith Yahweh power, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. All right, so what? The Most High didn't just cast us out. Just fuck y'all out. I don't give a fuck. He cast us out, but yet still he had a little mercy on us. You know, he left a small sanctuary. He always left a remnant, all right, where he kept a hedge around these different people, all right, around, you know, like nowadays his elect, you know, whereas the rest of 2/3 of our people gonna get cut off. The majority of our people gonna get cut off and die because why? They still blinded, all right. But what? The Lord's got a 1/3 and 144,000 that he's gonna redeem. He's being a small sanctuary unto them, all right. Verse 17. Therefore say, thus saith Yahweh power, I will even gather you from the people and assemble you from out of the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. So as a quick and to the point answer to what is salvation, the Most High keeps going into it over and over and over again. First and foremost, you have to understand and accept the fact that you have been sold into slavery, into captivity. Your ass is locked up in jail. All right. You done took some shit to the pawn shop. Your shit is in the pawn shop. You need to redeem that. All right. You need to get it out the pawn shop. You need to bail this motherfucker out. All right. This all make more sense now. You see what I'm saying? Damn, yeah, I am suffering hell day in and day out here. There's nothing I can do about it. Even if I leave from America, I'm still be under the same hell. It's these curses. These curses is way more spiritual than physical, because it's starting the spiritual realm first and foremost. All right. I don't have to fear these so-called white people. It ain't nothing wrong with white people. They just fucking vessels. They just bodies. But it's the spirit. First and foremost, it's the spirit that's inside of them that was being ordained by the Most High to put these curses down upon us. So really, the Most High could have put the spirit on the fucking Elamites and had the East Indians oppressing us. All right. So it's not the carnal vessel, but it's the spirit more that's inside that's got us. So this is a little more deeper than this. All right. We need to be saved from these curses that the Most High got us up under, and these enemies that he, like he said, Esau is his sword. He used Esau as his sword. That's a tool to punish us with. All right. But overall, this is the Most High that wound up punishing us this way, because we wound up going off. But then, but at the end all be all, the Most High is going to deliver us or bring us up out of punishment. All right. So he's going to wind up redeeming us from out of the hand of the so-called white man, or taking us up out of the so-called pawn shop, or paying our bail money to get us up out of jail. All right. So it says, verse 17 again, Ezekiel 11 and 17, it says, Therefore say, thus saith Yahweh power, I will even gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. And they shall come thither, and they shall take away all the detestable things thereof, and all the abominations thereof from thence. And I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and will take the stony heart out of their flesh, and will give them a heart of flesh. All right. I'm going into what? The new covenant that the Most High is going to put upon us, where we're going to all be righteous. We're not going to go off no more. All right. There's not going to be no need to punish us no more. So we're not going to have captivity no more. Once he saves us from this, it's going to be the end all be all. All right. Going back to the analogy I'm giving with this here pawn shop, like, yo, dog, I just need to take this into the pawn shop for a little minute, get up on my feet. But once I get back up on my feet and I come back, you ain't got to ever worry about this ring being pawned ever again. We super rich now. You're going to be good. You can say, fuck a pawn shop. You don't even, need to deal with them no more. All right. So it says, verse 20, that they may walk in my statutes and keep my ordinance and do them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their power. Yeah, I'm going to just go ahead and end it with that. Let me go. I referenced this a little earlier. Ezekiel 37 with these here 2 sticks. But I'm going to just jump to the bottom half, because the 2 sticks represent the northern and the southern kingdom. All right. One for the northern kingdom, one for the southern kingdom. All right. Verse 19, Ezekiel 37 and 19, say unto them, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, which again is going into the northern kingdom, the so-called Latinos and Native Americans. And I will put him even with the stick of Judah, the southern kingdom, the so-called Negroes, the so-called Haitians, and the so-called West Indies. All right. I will make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. And the 2 sticks whereupon thou writest shall be in thy hand before their eyes. All right. And so, well, let me read the next verse to break it down. And say unto them, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they have been gone. All right. And that's where we at now. Again, we scattered into the 4 corners of the earth. Now the Most High is breaking down now, us going and catching salvation. All right. We going into the salvation point now. This is what being saved is. And you starting to see the salvation start up right now. All right. It says, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, and I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. All right. So we in this here process now. We're not in the land of Israel right now, but we're being gathered on the 4 corners of the earth. Like when you read further up in Ezekiel 37, it goes into the valley of the dry bones. All right, about him prophesied. Let me read Ezekiel 37 and 10. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. That's the valley of the dry bones. That's you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that was in a Gentile state of mind, who thought that you was Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Now you being prophesied, you listen to these videos, seeing us in the highways and the byways, that flesh is coming back upon you. You being raised back up. You being brought into salvation. But it's starting in the spiritual realm first. All right. You have to spiritually wake up to this here first, see all this here spiritual first. All right. But then once we come to the kingdom, we're going to already, hey, the Lord's going to already have us programmed. All right. So this is like the practice run of this is like us studying for a test. All right. We're going through all these different equations or whatnot right now. We're getting built up in the spirit. So that when we physically see these things in reality, we'll already know how to deal with these situations. All right. But this is us being raised back up right now with these here two different sticks. All right. So verse 19 is verse 21. And say it to them, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. All right. So if you understand about our history, all right, we was under King David. How do I say it? You had basically one kingdom. All right. You basically had the southern and the northern kingdom both being reigned over under King David. Same with King Solomon. All right. But it wasn't until after King Solomon where his sons wound up splitting the kingdom. All right. So now you had, the northern and the southern kingdom, they was divided. All right. And that's where we was at all up into this here time frame. But now, like you starting to see on the highways and the byways and the camps and things like that, like in our camp now. All right. For the most part, a lot of our members, you would look at them as saying so-called black men, right? They would be like, oh, they all so-called black men. But then you have like the heads of our camps are Ephraimites, all right, or so-called Puerto Ricans, all right. But we all in the same camp like that together. You see what I'm saying? It's not no division or whatnot like that, all right. But we all being joined back together, all right. And you can see this in a carnal sense on the street level of just how certain gang activities or just people on the streets are acting nowadays. You see more blacks and Hispanics dealing with each other, and all the different tribes, they're starting to deal with each other more and more now, all right. Just look at the hip hop scene. Now you got like people like Cardi B and Bruno Mars and some of these other so-called Hispanics coming into the so-called hip hop scene or whatnot, and just being so-called welcome like that. All right. Being just, grafted on in. All right. Let me see. Well, I'll read this all the way on down. This is still going into our salvation. Verse 23, neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherewith they have sinned, and will cleanse them so that they shall be my people, and I will be their power. So again touching on what is the definition of being saved. All right, our people, we can just be saved and go to heaven. No, the Lord's saying, look, first of all, what is sin? Sin is transgression of the law. All right, and when you sin, you want to sinning is like death, because why? You got to catch that judgment. All right. You don't wind up doing something that's worth judgment. You got to catch that judgment. That's where we at now. Right. The Most High said he's going to write his laws on our inward parts. We're going to all be righteous. Therefore, we're going to be programmed not to sin. We're not going to go off. Therefore, we're not going to ever have to be reprimanded no more or be chastised no more, because we're going to always be right. We're not going to go into punishment. Nobody's going to ever have to be ruling over us in captivity. So we're not going to die. We're not going to go into captivity, but we're going to be saved from all of our enemies. We're not going to have these ailments and all these different things that we got going on nowadays. Like if you wind up drinking too much, you could have what they call cancer of the liver or whatnot. You're not going to have these issues no more, because why? We're going to be saved from all these curses and all these things from going off. All right. This is what we're going to be saved from. We're going to be programmed to be completely righteous. All right. We're not going to be going under the foot of these enemies from us going off no more. All right. We don't have to deal with this here hell that we facing no more. All right. Verse 24, and David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they shall have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I had given unto my servant Jacob. Real quick, if you don't understand reincarnation, it just said David was going to be their king, right? King David died way long time before all of this. Look, like, just think about it. You know what I'm saying? You talking about right now, what we talking about, you living in the time, this ain't even happened yet, right? You living in a time where all this is starting to take place. But what they talking about, King David gonna come back and reign, but King David been dead a long time ago, right? Reincarnation, It says, and they shall dwell in the land that I had given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your father dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. See, that ain't taking place yet. And my servant David shall be their prince forever, and I will make a covenant of peace with them, and they shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them and set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. I will be their power, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I Yahweh do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Now, this isn't talking about being up in the heavens. This is all going to be played out here on the earth. All right. So as you see these things going into what is salvation talking about, what you mean by being saved? Salvation, when you be saved, you're going to be here on the planet earth, living that salvation out, being in your kingdom of heaven. All right. You're going to be saved, first and foremost, saved from your enemies. All right. You're going to be brought up out of this captivity. All right. You know what I'm saying? Again, we in a big ass gang. It's 35 members or 100 members in this here gang, right? We all got caught and we all went to court. Now we all catching prison time. They decided to scatter us into prisons all throughout the United States so we wouldn't all be in the same prison causing ruckus. Now we just served our, let's say, 10-year bid and we all about to get out of jail. All right. But we all from the block. So we gonna all move back to the same block, no matter what state we were scattered into. You got some in Tennessee, some in New York, some in Chicago. But when we all get out of jail, we're going to go right back to the home base where we was all from to begin with. All right. That's what's, all going a part of our salvation. We was in prison. We rehabilitated now. All right. We so-called productive citizens to society and righteousness. All right. Just using all these as analogies because these are all things that you can understand, Sometimes you go to prison, they move you to a prison into a different state or whatever, whatnot. But at the end all be all, when you get out of prison, you're not just subjected to stay in the same state wherever they shipped you out in that prison. You wind up going right back home to where you was from to begin with. And this is a bigger situation that we in now. All right. You can take that same analogy and just maximize it to the fullest. That's where we at right now. We was cast as our whole little gang or our whole squad being the children of Israel. We was scattered into prison. We was found guilty on all charges. All right, the judge decided, look, y'all gonna all serve out y'all prison term, but y'all not gonna all serve prison in the same prison cells or the same prison compound. You're gonna be scattered into all the different prisons in the United States. But then what? When your prison time is up, you know what I'm saying? What y'all gonna wind up doing? Y'all gonna go right back to the same block where y'all all came from. All right. This is going into our salvation about, Israel being gathered back up, being raised back up. All right, and then ultimately we all being raised back up, ultimately to be removed from out of the hands of our enemies, all right, to be delivered up out of this here land, up out of this here captivity, all right. Got a couple more I'm gonna close out. This is Luke 1:68. Blessed be Yahweh, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. Hey, his people, not the whole world, but his people. And has raised up the horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. All right. Talking about Yahushua. As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. All right. And like the scripture also say, the Lord will do nothing but reveal his secrets into the service of prophets. And again, like we read earlier about publishing this, you know what I'm saying? Talking about the Lord is going to save his people. That's what we are here doing right now. All right. The prophets are telling you right now that this is what the Lord is preparing to do. All right. And this is what not what he's preparing to do. This is what the Lord is doing currently. All right. And ultimately, this is what going into salvation. All right. So let me read verse 70. And he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. All right. So let me read the next one. To perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant. All right. So, well, let me just keep reading. It says, the oath which he swore to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we being delivered out of the hand of our enemies might serve him without fear. All right. And holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our lives. So going into all that, I mean, that's a clear breakdown of going into salvation, that the Lord was going what? Save us from our enemies, deliver us up out of the hands of our enemies, up out of the lands where we were scattered. And he was going to bring us back to our own land. And he was going to put the law, statutes, commandments inside of us so that we wouldn't go off no more. And we would just serve the Lord in righteousness forevermore. All right. Clearly just going into what a salvation is, is a pure definition. All right. Again, you can't really understand what salvation is if you don't understand, let me use different words. You can't understand what the fuck you need bail money for unless you understand that somebody locked up in jail, right? Bailing somebody out you can't understand, somebody say, hey, bail me out. What you mean bail you out? Bail you out of what? If somebody don't understand the concept of you being locked up, you wouldn't understand the concept of bailing somebody out. So our people talking about being saved. Oh, I got saved today at church. Motherfucker, how did you I got bailed out today? Nigga, you ain't got no rap sheet. You ain't never been to jail. What you mean you got bailed out today? You didn't get bailed out of nowhere, motherfucker. What the fuck is you talking about? Or a nigga that's in jail talking some, yeah, dog, I just got bailed out today. Yeah, I just got my bail today. Like, nigga, you serving a life sentence with no chance of parole, talking about you got bail money. No, nigga, you didn't. You got to understand that you in prison on a life sentence to understand that you're not going to get bail. Or you have to understand that you locked up in jail, all right, with a possibility of parole or whatever, or bail, or possibility of bail, so you can get bailed out. All right. So for you to say that you save like so-called white people, like, nigga, how you getting bailed out of jail and you the prison warden? Well, shit, I'm still in the prison too. Yeah, but you're not in prison in the jail. You own the jail. All right. You got us in captivity in the jail. We the ones need bail money to get the fuck up out of your hands. You the ones imprisoning us. So you don't need bail money to get out. You see what I'm saying? How stupid that would be for the prison warden walking around talking some, yeah, free me. I'm the prison warden. Taking selfies on the internet. Yeah, don't you see me inside the jail? Like, yeah, nigga, but you got the uniform on. You not locked in the cage. You the one walking around with the keys locking niggas up in the cage. You see what I'm saying? You the one that's got everybody else locked down. You don't need the bail money. When your shift in, you gonna hang up your keys, take off your uniform, and you gonna clock out and go to fuck home. All right? These niggas can't clock out and just go to fuck home. They locked up in jail. They need bail money, man. All right? They need salvation, man. That's where we at right now. We can't just clock out and go home. We're not here oppressing nobody. That's not our state. We in prison, man. All right. So let me read this on through one more time, and then I'm gonna continue on. It says, Luke 1:68. Blessed be Yahweh, power of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and raised up the horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. And he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hands of all that hate us, to perform the mercies promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he swore to our father Abraham, that he would grant us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemy, might serve him without fear in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our lives. All right. So let me go from there to the book of Numbers. Almost done. We're going to close out here shortly. This is 10 and 9. Numbers 10 and 9. It says, and if you go to war, all right, and if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, and you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, you shall be remembered before Yahweh your power, and you shall be saved from your enemies. All right. Now, what is that? Ezekiel 3 or Ezekiel 17, 3 and 17 says, I've made thee a watchman into the house of Israel, therefore give them warning. So this is what we doing. We go into war. All right. And what? The watchmen on the watchtower, they blowing the trumpets, telling you what's going on. All right. And we calling out to the Lord. We crying out to the Lord, sighing and crying on the highways and the byways for all the abominations that be done therein. All right. According to what is that? Ezekiel 9 and 4. All right, the Lord was going to put that mark of exemption onto those men's head, and then he was going to slay everybody else. So this is what we're reading here. It says, if you go to war in your land, all right, because Jacob's trouble is damn sure coming. Esau, Edom is definitely about to wage war against the Israelites. All right, but what? Wisdom and knowledge going to be the stability of our time. All right, we're going to be calling on the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua in that time. All right, so if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, all right, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets. All right. First and foremost, we are already blowing the alarm right now with these videos going on highways and the byways, letting our people know to come back to the Lord. All right. And you shall be remembered before the Lord your power, because we put in this here work. We believe in the Lord. He's not going to, the Lord's not unrighteous to forget your works. The love that you wound up showing towards his name. All right. He's not going to forget that. So when you did this work for him, and in the time of your calamities and your stress, all right, like I say, alas, for that day is great and none is like it. It's the same as Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. These are these men that was blowing at their trumpet, putting in at their work. They gonna want to be saved. All right. So it says, if you go to war in your land against your enemy that oppresseth you, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpet, and you shall be remembered before Yahweh your power, and you shall be saved from your enemies. All right. I mean, salvation is clear as day what salvation is talking about, what salvation is, man. All right. Salvation makes no more sense than nothing else, man. Just like if you understood reincarnation, you was coming back. Like, all right, so if salvation is when you die, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess you go to heaven, but everybody going to heaven anyway. But you telling me if I die, I get to so-called go to heaven because I'm saved now, but I got to come back and physically live in hell? Come on, man. That's just going off, man. All right. Let me go from there to Isaiah 49:6. It says, and he said, is it a light thing that thou should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore and to preserve Israel? I will also give thee a light for the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the ends of the earth. All right. So what? The Lord's got the men of the Lord on the highways and the byways. Like I said, you can read that Ezekiel 37. All right. I read it earlier, Ezekiel 37:10, about the valley of the dry bones, prophesying in that exceedingly great army. All right. So is it a light thing? Thou should be my servant to raise up the tribe of Jacob. All right. It's really nothing that the Lord would cause you, well, it's nothing to the Lord, but it's a great thing for us. Like in our position, like, damn, this is like this some real heavy shit that the Lord would use me to sit out here to preach unto his sheep. All right. To raise them back up, to edify them, to build them back up, bring them back unto him. That's like the biggest shit that's the biggest thing I could ever been tasked with, but nevertheless, it says, and he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel, the remnant. All right. I will also give thee for a light or a guidance unto the Gentiles, the Israelites who don't know they're Israelites yet, to wake them up. All right. And thou mayest be salvation unto the ends of the earth. Thou mayest be my salvation to the end of the earth. All right. Because wow, we bring as many back to the marriage as possible as the Lord calls, so that when he come back, all his elect is already raised up. All right. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and end it with that. But nevertheless, I just want to touch on that. Is pretty much to end off those last couple of videos I wanted doing about Esau. Edom took the Israelites into captivity. All right, the judgment that was coming down on the so-called white man for taking us into captivity, which would lead us to what? Well, what's going to happen to the Israelites? Well, they're going to be saved. Well, what do you mean by saved? They're going to go to heaven? No, they're going to be saved from out of the hands of their enemies. All right. The Lord was going to bring them, deliver them out of the hands of their enemies. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying into the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, I can pushing this truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say stay strong and shalom.